Okay, this is going to be a first for me. Usually I cover a lot of Valheim news, Valheim stuff, but Elden Ring patch notes really want to cover them because I think there's a lot of patch note coverage that just gets left behind by a lot of PVE guide makers. And usually when things get patched and they start making new guides, there's a total lack of self-awareness of the mainstream group where they will say, oh, this thing was already so good, I can't believe they buffed it. And it's like they don't understand what's at the top rung in terms of power and what's actually low and mid tier. You know, it might be technically killing the bosses, dominating the bosses, doing well in PvE with the mobs and all of that, but it's nothing compared to the top of the top. And so it gets buffed. And then maybe it gets buffed and buffed again, like curved great swords or great swords, and like great hammers got a couple of buffs. And they just get better and better, and nobody complains. Nobody complains about them being better. It's not like they're overpowered. Now they're just more fun to use. And the dev team did a good job in that regard. And I'm just so happy that they don't listen to these goobers who make really bad clickbait PvE build videos. And I mean, just pay attention to the power of the weapons relative to the top. That's how the devs should function. And then they nerf very specific things and buff up a whole slew of other things. So this sort of perspective, understanding these things, needs to be shown and heard. And right now, I mean, it's just so goofy. Like, I'll talk about it when we get to the patch notes. There's actually not that much this time in terms of buffing up certain weapons, and that's because I assume they're working on a huge part of it with the DLC. So certain builds are going to change, certain builds are going to be better, and they don't want to jump the gun there or whatever. They don't want to get too far ahead of the DLC project where they're buffing things that they don't need to because they will already appear in the DLC or what have you. Okay, let's keep moving. Let's do proper look at this. PvP exclusive balance adjustments. This is going to be huge. But the PvP channels are going to go absolutely bonkers with this, and I'm going to leave it to them. Same with this. Same with all of this. Oh, yes. All of this stuff. It's, you know, the extent of how much this has actually been implemented and the actual impact, positive or negative, that this will have generally, we've yet to know. It will take a lot of testing, and a lot of the PvP community, whether invasions, duels, tournaments, whatever, they will figure it out. I'm certain of it. It's going to be a very entertaining time for fellows like me who really enjoy watching them. Let's keep moving. Here we go. General balance adjustments. Increase critical hit damage. Decrease recovery time after a missed critical hit. Increase poise damage on attacks that occur after missing a critical hit. Very cool. This one is not as relevant, but fine. And these are the big ones. Yeah. So, critical hits, it's like the big gut stabby and release. And then there's the backstabs. And we needed this. We needed this a lot because critical hits, taking critical hits on most enemies and bosses is like the worst thing that you could do. Specifically for bosses, if you stance break an enemy, no. Just no. Like, there are instances where bosses have too short a recovery time to get good damage with that stagger modifier, but most of the time you have a window where you can get some charged heavy attacks, and that's all stacking damage with physical buffs and let's see, Axe Talisman, Spiked Cracked Crystal Tier that all stacks with each other. That's absurd damage. And you get a couple of charged R2s. That's going to be better damage than critical hit. It's absurd. It's lovely. I love that. I love that it's not the simple thing. You got to actually go for the thing that you actually have to think about at least a little bit. And then there is also just raw DPS, using just a huge burst damage Ash of War, or getting a whole sorts of burst damage with DPS from a weapon's main move set. That's lovely, and that's going to be modified by that stance breaking, that stagger that you got on the enemy. And so you just shred the boss, and taking the critical hit gets left behind. It's just overwhelmingly most of the time, worse damage. It's better neuron activation. It might be a more satisfying animation to some. Historically, it was more satisfying with Dark Souls and all thems, Bloodborne. But it's just not reflected as such in the numbers. And so it needed a little boost. And From Software gave him a little boost. Thank you, From Software. The extent of this damage, I don't know yet. We'll have to see. Let's keep going. Bug fixes. Yay, these are actually really good. This is Aim Punch fixed. Woo! Hooray! So, when you're going in for an attack trade with some large weapons, they won't just get artificially bumped out of the way by the air somehow. And you won't take this colossal weapon and just get brushed to the side for some reason. Yeah, it's fucked up. This is Aim Punch is a mechanic that was introduced in shooter games for bullets, not for large giant weapons in an action RPG game with medieval-esque weapons, okay? This is fucking ridiculous that it's been in the game for so long. I'm happy that it's patched now, but this is severe incompetence that it's taking this long. Because a certain YouTuber, Amir, he's gone and shown that you can patch it out with one line of code for several patch windows now. Many patch windows. It has been months, and they still hadn't done it until now. So, holy shit, I guess they're trying to give some confidence to us, to the player base, because the DLC's coming out and Armored Core's coming out. But this is still, thank God, holy fuck. Should have done it sooner. Please. This also should have been done sooner. Rabbit Under the Moon, or I forget, it's Rabbit something Moon. It's an Elden Ring Invader YouTube channel. Does a lot of faith builds and holy builds. And it has been forever. It has been many patches since holy damage has been bugged, and it hasn't been able to be boosted by a variety of things, including the canvas talismans. So holy incantations just haven't been buffed by canvas talismans for ages, and they finally fixed it. Thank you, From Software. Should have been done earlier. It's just extra damage on weapons. Yeah, fixed. It's just a bug. It's fixed. That's fine. It led to some absurd damage in invasions, and that's fine. That's gone. This is good. This is always good. Some text and languages. That's nice. I'm still shocked that it took this long, but sure. Alright. Now that's the update. Okay. Do I wish there were more stuff for PVE? Yes. Do I think it's coming in the DLC? Absolutely. Super hyped for Shadow of the Erd Tree. And, yeah, this is really funny. I mean, there is a YouTuber who very recently made, guys, I made a mathematically correct crit build. Oh my god, it demolishes the bosses. It's well, you gotta set up super fast with your Nebula on the offhand, and then swap to Executioner's Great Axe, Royal Knight's Resolve once the enemy's been stance broken, and then you can get your one-shot in. Okay? most builds at the top run buff stack to such a degree where you can just 1 or 2 shot bosses even at regular levels, or you can shred bosses just like that in the same amount of time as the super quote-unquote OP crit build at level 1. They can do that at level 1. Just as much, if not more, shredding of bosses at level 1. Okay? So, the super quote-unquote OP crit builds taking that long at normal build levels with the most absurd setup. Yeah, crits needed to be buffed. Yeah, obviously. Like, let's be fucking real here. Alright. Thank you for watching. This is going to be interesting. I mean, my int faith build and my future strength faith build is going to be really good because of this with all of the holy stuff. So that's exciting. And hope you're looking out for those. Probably got another Elden Ring thing or Valheim thing coming out later today. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys some other time. Bye.